and I just think that other people need to hear it. So one of the biggest struggles of my life that I've faced, and that comes back to me that I continually face, is knowing if I'm making the right life choices. And I'm sure all of you guys have experience with that, and especially senior year, we were faced with all these big decisions, choosing what college, choosing majors, and there was so much pressure on choosing the right thing. And for me personally, in my head, I was like, well, if I don't choose the right thing, then I'm gonna go down this path. I'm not gonna find fulfillment and happiness. I'm gonna just my life is gonna fall apart, basically. That's what I thought in my head. And it just filled me with a lot of anxiety and stress. And people would always say, well, God has a plan. And my thing was always well, how do I know? How do I know if I'm on it? How do I know if I'm doing the right things? And recently, a lot of the stress has come back with a pandemic that just threw a wrench in all our plans, I'm sure. And I can honestly say I'm not where I thought I'd be a year ago. I'm a different person. I'm doing different things. And the stress of just, am I making the right decisions? Am I on the right life path? Have just really come back on full force and provided me with a lot of anxiety. But something that I've realized, and it might sound so simple, is that it's okay. And it's okay because when you think about it, we're such diverse, multifaceted human beings. We have a multitude of interests, so many sides of our personalities, so many intricate details of ourselves, that how would it make sense that there's one path for all of us? How would it make sense that there's one path to get us where we need to be? And additionally, we're such flawed human beings. We make mistakes, and if you haven't made big life mistakes yet, you're probably bound to. It's just how life works. And I firmly believe that because of that, it wouldn't make sense that there's just be one path that can take you where you need to be, one path that leads to fulfillment and happiness and contentment. And in my head, I always had the idea of a path of life like a tightrope, that if I didn't make the right choices, if I messed up, I would fall off and it would derail my life. But I've realized that that's completely false. It's a narrative that needs to be changed because God can use a multitude of paths to get you where you need to be. And he can, even if it's paths that may not be pleasant, even if it's paths you might not have expected, it could be things that were in your plan, it could be things that weren't in your plan, but just because it's not where you plan to be doesn't mean that God can't use it to get you where you need to be. The pandemic was really tough on me personally, and I definitely went through some of the worst times I've ever faced in my life. But now I can honestly say I'm probably in the happiest period of my life. I've never been this happy before. And who knows if I would have gotten there if I wouldn't have taken the path through some of the worst times of my life. And I just really hope this brings you guys with some peace and just assurance and just kind of relief from stress, that even if you're not where you thought you'd be, even if you're just on a different track, even if just things are slightly different than you imagined, that's okay, because God can still use that to fulfill your purpose. God can use wherever you are in life to work for him and to get you where you need to be. So life isn't as black and white as it seems. And I just really hope that that provides you with peace and assurance that, there's not just one path to get you where you need to be. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Good evening, ladies. I hope you guys are having a great start to your week so far. I invite you all to stand as we sing our first song.
There's nothing worth more that will ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're our living hope. Your presence
Let's pray together. Holy God, thank you for being in this space. Thank you for bringing us together just to be in your presence, God. Take everything that I am, everything I will be, and every question and thought and doubt I've ever had, and use them in what way you will, God. Thank you for your presence and your mercy and your love and your graciousness, God. In your name I pray, amen. Good evening, guys. It is so wonderful to be with you guys here tonight. I am so blessed to be here, and I have a story. So it was about last year in like March or May. I was like in my senior year deciding where to go for college. I had several options in mind, the Andrews because I'm doing theology, and La Sierra because it was close to home, and Walla Walla was also on there. And I was just thinking about this and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then there was like this shift, like right around March, there was a shift. And I don't know what happened. I really don't. But you have to bear with me. Like, it sounds weird, but you have to bear with me, okay? So every time I would encounter like anything associated with Walla Walla, whether it was like a financial aid package or like I would just be on the website just to see what was up, there was this thing that would happen. Like, I would get like a physical reaction. It sounds weird. Stay with me. It sounds weird, but I would get this moment where it felt like every fiber of my being was like electrified, like a little bit. It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but please, you have to stay with me. And there would, every fiber of my being would be like electrified, and then there would be this mantra in my brain that was like, I need to be there. And that sounds weird, and I know, but for some reason that shifted things for me, because all of a sudden I wasn't thinking about Andrews or La Sierra. All I was thinking was, I need to be at Walla Walla in the fall. And I didn't know how. And another thing about me is that I come from an immigrant family, very proud of that. And we come, just as immigrant families do, we come from one place in the Philippines and we move to one place in Southern California, and our whole community moves. And we don't go anywhere farther than that. You just hold on to each other for dear life and you stay there. You stay there. So when I told my parents one day, hey, I want to move to a place that's 17 hours away that I've never stepped foot in for 4 years, it was like hard no. And that was just unheard of, absolutely unheard of. But for some reason, this mantra in my brain was like, I need to be at Walla Walla University. And this pulsing in my heart was like, I need to be at Walla Walla University. So, unfortunately, went against my parents' wishes, and I decided that I was going to Walla Walla University by myself. Also a bad thing if you're from an immigrant family. You don't kind of do things by yourself. That's like against their whole thing. And I decided I was going to try and fundraise to go to Walla Walla University. And so I was making calls and I was sending emails like, please, I don't have money. And I was just trying everything I could. I was applying for scholarships and everything just to try and come here for a tuition that was ridiculously expensive, if I may say. And it was completely hopeless. And the only shred of evidence, the only thing I was clinging to was this mantra in my brain and this tingly feeling that was like, I need to be there. I need to be there in the fall. And it was a hard situation because if I'm going to be honest, there were a lot of days where that shred of evidence was not nearly enough. There were days where I was overwhelmed with anxiety, where I was just bubbling to the top with anxiety, and I was so frustrated because I felt so alone in it, and no one could understand me. And it was just so frustrating to be in this situation that I came to the very classic questions that probably every Christian has come into. And the classic questions of where are you, God? The questions of are you even listening to me? The questions of are you even here? Do you even know what I'm going through? Can you see what's happening? And as tension built with my family, as I was trying to leave by myself, and as tension rose and I was trying to do this on my own against all odds, it just kept on bubbling and the questions kept on building with more and more weight. And I kept on crying out and trying to journal and all of the things of how can I get out of this? God, do you have what it takes to bring me out of this? God, do you have what it takes to give a 17-year-old $10,000 to go to college? That was the real, honest question. And honestly, it caused a lot of doubt and a lot of questions that I do think are healthy, that I think that people are supposed to have. That's the only logical explanation. But the thing is, we come to a similar story. This is not an isolated experience. This has happened before. And we find ourselves in Exodus chapter 3. We find ourselves in Exodus chapter 3 with a whole burning bush, but the burning bush got to take a backseat. So later in that chapter, we see Moses confront God. Moses confronts God because he is aware of all of these classic questions of where are you, God? Are you even listening? Can you even bring us out of this? Do you have what it takes? All of those questions that the Israelites were thinking. You see, the Israelites had been in Egypt for a long time, and they were enslaved for a long time. And these are the very same questions that I'm sure they were thinking. And so Moses comes up to God and asks the hard questions. And so Moses is so full of doubt that we start in verse 13. And Moses said to God, "Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' Then what shall I say to them?" And God said to Moses, "I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent you." God also said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, 'The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation.'" So in this story, at the very beginning, Moses is like, what am I supposed to tell the Israelites your name is? And in our 21st century lens, it can be peculiar. It can be interesting. Like, don't you know who you're talking to? It's like actual God you're talking to. But the thing is, it's not a question of identity, it's a question of ability. You see, the Israelites lived in a very polytheistic worldview, which means that when they interacted with other nations, when they went to war, when they got enslaved by other nations, it wasn't our people against your people or our community against your community. It was our God versus your God. And so when the Israelites are enslaved by the Egyptians, this is a clear, bold statement that the Egyptian gods are better than Yahweh, which is a problem. But not only that, they've been enslaved for 430 years. So every moment is just this blaring alarm that the Egyptian gods are better than Yahweh. And so Moses is asking a very real question, a very honest question. He's basically saying to God, not what is your name, but do you have what it takes? Do you have the strength and the ability to go against these Egyptian gods? The same Egyptian gods that have been enslaving us for years and years. Like, your people are crying out and you have never answered them thus far. And here you are just saying that you're going to step in. It's an awkward situation, but God responds in an iconic way. And we see in verse 14, God said to Moses, "I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you." So this is also an interesting situation. God describes God's self as "I am who I am." Other translations say this as "I am being as I am being," or "the one who always is." God describes God's self in imperfect grammar, that God is a God of right now. Not a God of the past or the God of the future, but a God of right now, which means in the context of the Israelites, they were probably thinking about God in past tense, the God who took care of the God who was, the God who took care of Jacob and Isaac and Abraham, or the God who will be, the God who will deliver us from Egypt. But it's hard to think of the God of right now, the God that will deliver when you're enslaved. And that's a difficult situation. And so we come to this hard place because it's an honest and difficult question to ask, Where is God when I'm struggling? Where is God when I am going through all of this? And I wish I could dive into it right now with you, but it's just so much of a loaded question, and I would love to have a conversation with you sometime after this, but it's such a loaded question. But the title that God brings into this situation, I am who I am, brings up a God of right now, a God who is right now and forever. So in our context, when we try to think about this, when we try to apply this into our situation, it's easy to think of God as a God of a really old book 4,000 years ago. It's easy to think about God as God who will deliver us, a God who will save us in the second coming, but it's hard to think of God in our right now, of our everyday. And so I want to remind you that God lives every day with you, that God is part of your life right now, that God is living every single interaction with you, that God is with you in your struggle and hears your cry and hears your pain. And I wish I could explain to you why God didn't intervene more when I was having a difficult time. And I wish I could explain to you why God didn't intervene more when the Israelites were held captive and enslaved. And I wish I could explain to you why God doesn't intervene in your difficult situation right now. But the honest truth is, it's hard to explain. And I would love to have a conversation with you, but it's simply too big of a question. But today is a reminder that God is living every second with you, every second, and he is celebrating with you when you have your accomplishments and is with you when you are struggling. Every failure, every poor test or bad essay, God is living that with you. Every new boyfriend or new car, God is celebrating with you. And it's hard to think about that, but today is a reminder. This is a reminder that God is a God of right now. Even in the neutral moments, even when you oversleep in your 8 a.m., God is with you in those moments. Every awkward conversation, everything, God is always with you in those moments. The one who always is present with you in those moments. And today is a reminder of that. So as you go throughout your week, I'm going to encourage you to try and look for God in the moments where it is too mundane, in the moments where you just feel too down in the dumps, in the moments where you don't often see God. I want you to try and find him there, because God is with you wherever you are. Pray with me. Holy God, thank you for being in our presence, for being always there for us wherever we are, whatever we're going through. I wish I could say more, God. You are so amazing, and you are the creator of the universe and are willing to be with us in every moment, God. And that is so empowering. Thank you for your grace and your mercy, and help us to step into this week with more courage and more excitement for the days to come. Thank you for your grace. In your name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Linnell, for that message. That was very, very, very powerful. I think, I don't know, in my life, I don't know, it's kind of like a cool thing and like a very big blessing that God is with us in every moment, and we don't have to necessarily ask all the time, but he just knows when we need him, and he's always there. So again, Elias said this at the beginning, but I just wanted to reiterate that we have only one announcement, well, two if you want to count elections. But our big announcement coming up is that we have AGA OPS barbecue at Kiwanis Park at 5 to 7 on June 1st. So come out, it's going to be really fun. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for coming. Thank you, Linnell and Melanie and our worship team. You guys did amazing. But anyways, yeah, blessings throughout this week. And yeah, see you guys later.